Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. In this video, we shall be trying to understand the subject of geography in a better way. Now, oftentimes, when we hear about the term geography or the subject of geography, immediately our mind is flooded with lots of anxious thoughts and lots of confusion regarding the coverage and completion of the syllabus of the subject. Many of the times, the candidates are not even aware of the areas that they have to focus on, the areas that they have to emphasize in order to gain a mastery over the subject. As a result of which, most generally, you will find that many of the candidates name geography to be their chief nemesis. So in this video, we shall be trying to allay those fears. We shall be trying to understand the importance of this subject from an examination perspective, how to approach this subject, how to write answers for geography, how to link it to current affairs. And we shall try to lay a broader framework when it comes to the detailed breakup of the syllabus and the types of questions that you encounter when you reach the exam hall. So in a way, we shall try to declutter the subject and we shall try to make it as easy as possible. So let us first of all understand the importance of geography. Now, the main thought that many of the candidates have is that if we want to become an IAS officer or an IPS officer, why do we need to study about geography? Because when we hear about geography, what are the prime thoughts that comes into your mind? You think that you have to remember the names of the mountains, you have to remember the names of the rivers, minerals, etc. And all of this is pretty mundane and boring at the get-go. So why is it that we need to study this? Everything around us, our lifestyles, our living habits, the houses and the types of habitations that we reside in, the political structure of a place, the economy of any particular region, and more importantly, the history of that particular place is intricately linked to geography. I will cite an example here. Now, we all know a particular basic fact that during the 15th, 16th, 17th, and the 18th centuries, European colonial powers came into the southern part of Asia and they started their own rule in these areas. Now, all of us know this fact. But have you ever wondered, why is it that the super rich European powers, the British, the Danish, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, why did these powers come to South Asia? And why did they start colonizing these particular regions? The answer to it lies in geography of the place. Now, if you open up the map and you look at the regions where these countries are situated, these are situated in the colder parts of the globe. So for pretty much 6 months of the year, when it is the winter season, the land in these areas is not very productive because in many of these areas, the land is covered under a thick blanket of snow. So you cannot grow any particular agricultural crop. So what do? How do you consume food? So many of the Western European countries that we are talking about, gradually and slowly, they mastered the whole art of preservation of food. They used to preserve food during the winter months and they used to consume that. Now it was found out in the Middle Ages itself that spices, especially pepper, used to act as the best preservative for meat products. And if you add spices to the raw meat, then that meat can be preserved for multiple months altogether. That was the prime motive, to gain access to those lands where spices will be available. And which are the areas around the globe where spices are grown naturally? The countries in South and Southeast Asia. So that is why all the European powers, they were attracted to South and Southeast Asia. In fact, Vasco da Gama, after his first trip, gained so much in profit just by selling these spices. So as you can see, history of South and Southeast Asia is pretty much determined by the geography of the place. If you take a look at the political system in many particular regions, you will find even in our country, many of the areas which are surrounded by hills or forested regions for that matter, they have a different system of governance. Again, it is geographical isolation which has made them a kind of an autonomous structure. So polity is also determined by geography. Again, suppose a particular region is very good in exports of agricultural products. Let's take the case of Punjab and Haryana. So the economy of Punjab and Haryana are primarily driven by agriculture. Now, why is it that agriculture is thriving in these areas? Because of fertile soil. Again, geography is driving economy. So it is the geography of a place which determines the historical background, which determines the political outlook, and which also ends up determining the economic perspectives. So in such a scenario, an idea about geography is particularly important. And that is why UPSC wants you to study. But there is another reason why you should and you have to study it. And that is in order to know your particular country, that is India, in a better way. Now in our country, different places have different amount of mineral deposits. How do you come to know about that? Geography. Different areas have different growth potential regarding various different crops. How do you get to know about that? Geography. So from an examination perspective, this is a very vital subject. Every year, close to around 10 to 15 questions appear from geography in the prelims examination. And in the prelims examination, out of these 10 to 15 questions which appear, if you are good with the basics of the subject, very easily you can score almost 80% correct marks out of these questions, and which is huge. Other than that, in GS paper 1, that is the mains examination, you always end up finding close to around 100 marks being asked in the form of subjective questions in the mains exam from geography itself. So from a direct exam perspective, geography is very vital. UPSC is not going to ask you which subject was easier or not. UPSC does give equal weightage to all the big four subjects, that is polity, history, geography, and economy. So that is where you have to cover the subject. But when you study geography, it is not only to answer the direct questions that you will face in the examination. Geography as a subject will also help you in dealing with the essay paper. How? Many of the times you will find that questions in essays are oftentimes dealt with, or they are asking your perspective regarding the geopolitical or geostrategic importance of location of India on top of Indian Ocean, or the complicated borders that India has and the issues arising for water management. So all these different types of topics that you get in essay, if you are a keen student of geography, these would be a cakewalk for you. Because then you would understand that yes, India being atop Indian Ocean provides us with a very beautiful opportunity to capitalize the economic gains out of it. And why is it that Indian Navy has got big plans for itself going into the future? If you are well versed with geographical concepts, you would also be aware of the different types of land features that we have across the different land boundaries and also across the maritime boundaries. You'll be aware of the issues in managing that. So that is where geography gives you a very basic lead over other candidates, over other competitors, if you are thorough with the subject. Not only these kinds of topics, sometimes in essay you also get topics regarding issues of urban settlement. Where do you come across these topics? Geography. So essay has got a direct linkage with your idea about geography, and particularly if you are able to interrelate it or correlate it with current affairs. Then many of the times we take particular stress when it comes to subjects such as environment and ecology. And oftentimes we are so tense about it that how do we cover environment and ecology? Even that environment and ecology and the concepts that you read there, all of that are driven from geography. Because after all, what is it that you have to study in environment and ecology? A kind of a habitat for a particular animal or a particular plant. How climate change is threatening the species. And where do you get to understand the basic of these climate change and why climate is changing and what are its effects? You will come across all these factors in geography. You will come across the climatic distribution across the world in geography. So if your basic is correct, even environment and ecology can be dealt with easily. But it doesn't end there. Other subjects, for example, disaster management. Now, disaster management as a subject is about how will you deal with certain disasters that we face. But if you think about it, if you know why a disaster will happen and when will a disaster happen, automatically you will come up with ideas regarding how to deal with that disaster. For example, if you are faced with a question in the examination, that how do you deal with a disaster such as earthquake or a flood? Now, in all these cases, if you are aware when an earthquake happens, where an earthquake can happen, why does a river flood, when shall it flood, automatically you will also have solutions to these problems. And that is where your geographical concepts will come into play. Then, another subject in which geography can help you immensely is when it comes to internal security. Now, in internal security, what are the basic concepts? You deal with issues such as Naxalism, Maoism, and also certain areas of separatism. Now, when you deal with the problems of Naxalism, Maoism, you come across the concept that how many of these left-wing extremist elements, they had captured a territory extending from Jharkhand to Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Telangana, eastern part of Maharashtra, and also parts of Uttar Kannada or northern part of Karnataka. But if you find a pattern in these regions, all these areas are densely forested, and these forests are interconnected between different states. And that provides the people or these extremist elements a safe passage. They can very easily move from one forested area to the other forested area. If you are aware as a student, as a candidate, where do these forested lands exist, automatically and always, you'll find it easier to explain issues regarding internal security. Then you also find help when it comes to the personality test, or what is also referred to as interview. Now, during the interview process, the questions that you will face as a candidate shall be regarding the basic problems that India faces, regarding the rampant urbanization, regarding population explosion, regarding agricultural income, agricultural growth rate, industries and the location of industries. All these different questions that are plaguing our country right now, all those issues are dealt with in this particular subject. So what I'm trying to convey here is that once you approach this subject in a holistic manner, once you are able to paint a comprehensive picture for yourself, which allows you to look at the overall spectrum of the country and the problems that the country is facing, then the help that it will give you in the examination will be purely unparalleled. But then, as a candidate, you have to ensure that there's a correlation and interlinking of concepts that you continuously keep on doing. How? And what am I talking about? So, for example, suppose there is an event in your neighborhood, right? An event of excessive rainfall or an event of a cyclone coming and hitting you. Now, in all these cases, you don't need a particular book in order to understand that the cyclone has hit your place. You are aware of it because you are experiencing it. So that is where geography is present around you. All that you have to do is basically connect the conceptual part along with the application of it. The concept that I'm talking about is, in this case, let's say, the basis and the basic features for the formation of a tropical cyclone. That is something you will read in the concept, in the subject. Now, if you are in a coastal region and you experience that cyclone, that will be the application aspect of it. That is what you have to correlate. But then, correlation and interrelation of different subjects and different concepts is also required in order to gain mastery over the whole of the UPSC syllabus. Let me elaborate. For example, one of the issues that India has been focusing on for some time now has been the decreasing level of farm income. Now, this is something you will read in economics. That why farm income, when it is decreasing, what are the problems it creates in rural economy, how it leads to a decreased demand in urban certain sector, etc. But then you have to correlate it with the geographical aspect. That it is because of the fact that soil in the region of Punjab and Haryana, they are turning out to be infertile. It is close to being degraded, and eventually it will lead to a full-on desertification. That correlation, that because the soil is turning out to be infertile, why it is turning out to be infertile, you will study in geography. But then because of this particular fact, there is an economic fallout for that. Another example, an industry in a particular region has closed down, leading to a rise of unemployment levels. Again, a matter of economics. But if you are aware about the locational factors of industries, what are the ideal factors which make an industry to be located in a particular region, then suddenly your idea regarding the overall picture that I was talking about suddenly increases. So when it comes to the various different subjects, geography as a subject has always got a requirement that it has to be linked with the different particular aspects as well. So you will have an economic aspect to geography, right? You will have a kind of a social aspect or a human aspect to geography, right? You will have a physical aspect to geography, you will have a political aspect. All of that has to be correlated. And then when you weave a story in the exam hall, the marks that you will get will be much more. Now, another point that one has to understand before starting a subject is the classification within the subject which exists. When you study geography, particularly for civil services, you will study it under two broader heads. One will be what is referred to as the physical geography. Now, this physical geography further is subdivided into aspects such as geomorphology, then climatology, and then oceanography. In geomorphology, you will come across features of land, how they are important, how they are formed, what is present in Earth's interior, how are the various different landforms shaped, what are the different types of landforms. So you will be dealing with the land and its evolving shape under geomorphology. What about climatology? Under climatology, you shall be dealing with the aspects regarding rainfall, regarding wind patterns, cyclones, jet streams, Indian Ocean dipole, etc. So all the weather phenomena you shall be dealing with under climatology. Then under oceanography, you shall be dealing with the ocean currents, the movement of ocean water, the temperature that the ocean water exhibits, the salinity levels. And while we are studying all these different aspects, we shall be studying these features across India as well as world. So I'll give you an example. Suppose we are looking at the drier regions across the world. So basically, when you look at it, you get an idea about what are the various different types of deserts present in the world. Suppose you take a look at the fold mountain systems under geomorphology. When you look across the distribution of fold mountains across the world, you come across the different locations on the world map as well. So we are going to cover the world geography in the viewpoint of physical aspect of geography itself. That is what is meant by physical geography. You deal with the landforms across the globe, you deal with the different seas and oceans across the globe, you deal with the climatic conditions across the globe, and that increases your knowledge regarding the whole world. Which area will experience more rainfall, more volcanism, more earthquakes, which area will experience a higher tide, etc. All that you will deal with when you cover physical geography. Then for the examination perspective, we have another classification, and that is Indian geography. Now, under Indian geography, we deal with the same concepts. That is the physiography of India, climate of India, the different water bodies around India, the drainage pattern, river systems, forest types, soil types, and also human and economic aspect of Indian geography. Mineral distribution, agricultural output, settlements, and transportation systems that we have. What are the problems associated with it? So that is where these are the broader classifications. Now, oftentimes, we have the expectation that when we are studying geography, we'll study about each continent in separate detail. That we'll study about Australia, the land features, the mountains, etc. Because that is how we have studied in class 6, class 7, class 8, etc. But that is not the requirement for civil services. While you should be broadly aware of the situation of physical geography across the world, and that is where we shall be covering the world as well. But in this examination, focus is paid on the concepts of physical geography, and also the issues that India is facing. So that is the approach that we have to take while covering the subject. And overall, when we are able to cover the whole syllabus, then you will understand, and then you will realize that suddenly you have a much better perspective of the region and the world around you. Now, about the syllabus when it comes to geography. Now, syllabus of geography, even though it is mentioned under the UPSC notification itself, but this syllabus, or the questions rather which are asked in the examination, oftentimes have a dynamic aspect or an angle to it. Oftentimes, the questions that you face are related to current affairs. So that is where you will find that static questions are being asked in relation to the current affairs. And the questions require a depth of knowledge. So the basic feature that you have to focus upon is concept and development of concepts. You always have to ask why, where, when, and how of any particular topic. For example, you come across earthquakes or volcanoes. So for examination perspective, you will come across a text, you will read through and go away. But unless and until you ask the question, why the volcano erupts? Where does it erupt? When does it erupt? And how does the eruption take place? If you ask these questions to yourself, then automatically the concept gets much clearer. And that is what we will target. Each of these basic concepts we shall deal with in significant detail. Why do we have such a kind of atmospheric distribution where nitrogen is present in 78%, oxygen is present roughly around 21%, and so on? Why is it so? Unless and until we go to the root cause of each of these, our conceptual clarity will be very shallow. So that is the approach you need to take. Now, when it comes to the questions, I'll give you the example. Suppose there is a cyclone, a tropical cyclone, which has hit Bay of Bengal and has hit the coastal areas of Odisha, West Bengal, and even Bangladesh. Now, this news headline will be a part of current affairs. But then in UPSC or in the examination, you'll find a question dealing with tropical cyclones, the basic of it. What are the conditions required for the formation of tropical cyclone? If there is an eye in the tropical cyclone, what are its characteristics? So you will see that a topic which was present or which was prominent in current affairs, the basic part of it or the conceptual part of it is utilized when it comes to the subject itself. So whenever you come across current affairs, always understand or always ask yourself if you are aware of the basic portion of that particular concept or not. And if you are doing that on a regular basis, then you will be always well prepared for the examination. Now, when it comes to the prelim syllabus, the notification is very brief and concise for this. The notification is Indian and World Geography, Physical, Social, Economic Geography of India and the World. Now, oftentimes when you come across this, the candidates are more confused. Then what do we study in this? So remember the classification of the subject that we talked about. So for prelims, always understand that when it comes to the physical part of geography, there you will have to understand that the questions which are asked deal with the basic concepts of physical geography, be it geomorphology, climatology, oceanography. We shall be taking a look at the type of questions which come as well. And here, these concepts have to be interrelated with the current developments. So for example, if there is an increased melting in the Arctic, then what is the basic concept dealing with it? What is the concept of albedo, which determines the reflectivity of ice? So polar melting or Arctic melting is a current issue, a current development. But the question that can be asked will be regarding the basic of it. So that is where questions are asked from physical geography. And much emphasis is given on India and its issues. So issues regarding agriculture, issues regarding forest cover, desertification, all of these are oftentimes asked. So here again, you have to marry the basic concept with the current developments. The more well-versed you are with the current affairs, better you will be in dealing with these issues. Okay? But then, when it comes to the mains examination, what does the notification tell us? So the notification here talks about salient features of world's physical geography. So here, you have to understand the salient features of geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography. So for example, as I was saying, if there is a mountainous system in South America, how was that created? Or what are the features of it? If there are Himalayan mountains, why is it that the height of the Himalayas is still increasing? If there are oceanic trenches, where can we find them? Why are they formed? Then distribution of key natural resources across the world, including South Asia and Indian subcontinent, that is the economic geography. Then factors responsible for location of industries in various parts of the world. Again, the economic aspect of it. Then important geophysical phenomena such as earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic activities, cyclones, storm surges, floods, etc. And the geographical features and their location. Changes in critical geographical features, including water bodies and ice caps. This in itself tells you the importance that UPSC will attach to your knowledge and your idea regarding current affairs. And also in flora and fauna and the effect of these changes. So UPSC also expects you to form a correlation or interrelation between various different subjects, economy, environment, ecology, etc. The questions which appear in the mains exam are analytical in nature, where you'll be asked to analyze a particular kind of feature. It is very simple for that matter, but you need to have a detailed idea about a particular concept. And how do you get a detailed idea about a concept? Knowing the why, when, where, and how of any particular topic. But then, what you read in geography does not primarily only deal with GS paper 1. In GS paper 3, you come across the syllabus regarding agriculture and questions regarding agriculture. What are the major crops? What is organic farming? The benefits of it? What is mulching? What is crop diversification? How do you improve the farm income? What is the food processing industry? So all these that you will study under human and economic geography, all of that will be an addendum in your arsenal when you deal with the question paper for mains exam. And this will help in overall broader coverage of the topic and the syllabus at the same time. So that is where you will have multiple effects. And not to say that in GS paper 3, you will also be facing questions from internal security and disaster management as well. So here again, for example, if you are aware that in earthquake, there is a kind of a shock or a wave which travels 2 to 3 minutes prior to the main earthquake, then that will give you an idea that, okay, we can have an alarm system, early warning system which can prevent the damages, or which can at least help people to escape their houses. That forms a part of disaster management. So that is where it has a multi-sectoral role in various different subjects. But then, let us understand, first of all, what is the basic course outline when we deal with this subject. So as I said, the broader classification deals with physical geography and Indian geography. But even within that physical geography, you have geomorphology, which has many subunits. Climatology, which again has got many subunits. Oceanography. Indian geography also has certain units under it, certain units subclassified as human and economic geography. So let us understand that, what they are. So basically, the first unit in physical geography that you generally come across is geomorphology. Geomorphology refers to the shape or the evolution in shape that the landforms across the surface they encounter and they experience. So under geomorphology, we have to study about the interior of the earth. What is it composed of? What are the features of mantle, core, outer core, inner core, crust, oceanic crust, continental crust? All those features we will study and come across in interior of the earth. Then theories of origin of continents and oceans. So be it the basic continental drift theory given by Alfred Wagner, or be it basically, let us assume, the seafloor spreading theory, or basically, let us assume again the plate tectonic theory. All these we get to understand in this particular unit or chapter. Then there is a chapter regarding rocks and minerals as well. So while this is not particularly important as a chapter, you will not find many questions dealing with rocks and also minerals, but then we'll cover it regarding what is igneous rock, what are different types. Then there is a chapter regarding tectonic theory. All these we get to understand in this particular theory, or basically, let us assume again the plate tectonic theory. All these we get to understand in this particular unit or chapter. Then there is a chapter regarding rocks and minerals as well. So while this is not particularly important as a chapter, you will not find many questions dealing with rocks and also minerals, but then we'll cover it regarding what is igneous rock, what are different types of igneous rocks, what is sedimentary rock, what is metamorphic rock, what is the concept of rock cycle, where a rock can get converted into another type and subsequently into the third type, etc. So that is what we will study there. Then we'll look at the different processes, endogenic, exogenic processes. So here we come across, under endogenic processes, we come across the factors of earthquakes, volcanoes, then mountain building processes, faults, folds, rift valleys, all of that you will come across. Then factors of erosion, mass movement, weathering, landslide, all that you will study under the heading of exogenic processes. Then we will look at the different types of landforms, erosional landforms, depositional landforms, all those different landforms, how they get developed, we will look at under geomorphology. So all these, they have a basic pattern. They will help you understand the land features around yourself. And that is what geomorphology is all about. If the height of the Himalayas are increasing, why it is increasing? You will study here. So that is what is the requirement of this unit, the types of questions that you face. If you look at it, then which of these particular processes have actually influenced the evolution of organisms? Glacial cycles, continental drift. Now here you will find out that these are the questions which deal with the landform and the behavior or the pattern of the earth. So that is the type of question you come across in prelims. Then in the mains examination, you'll come across questions such as, what do you understand about the theory of continental drift? Discuss the prominent evidences in its support. Now, as you can see, the question is very basic. If any particular candidate or student has some idea about continental drift, they can take a shot at this question. And these are the types of questions which come directly from concepts. Okay? Now, another unit that you have to come across, which is very important both for prelims and mains, that is climatology. Climatology is the study of climate around you. So be it the air temperature, be it the movement of winds, be it the factors such as why is it that high pressure, low pressure areas exist in different places? Why is it that cyclones are formed? What are the different types of cyclones? How is it that climatic regions across the world are divided into? What is the concept of jet streams? Modern theories such as Indian Ocean dipole, theories such as Madden-Julian oscillation, Arctic amplification, all those factors regarding the basic concepts as well as the recent developments which are going on. That is what you will deal with under climatology. So when we will be approaching climatology, first of all, we shall be dealing with the basic concepts. What is temperature? What is heat? What is condensation? What is evaporation, etc. And one after another, we shall be taking the concepts to the next level. And by the end of it, if you revise it properly, you shall have no doubts and you should be able to deal with the questions in prelims and mains very easily. The types of questions which appear from this. So the jet aircraft fly very easily and smoothly in the lower stratosphere. What could be the appropriate explanation? First, there are no clouds of water vapor in the lower stratosphere. Second, there are no vertical winds in the lower stratosphere. Now, if you are aware of the conditions or the types of phenomena which are experienced in the region of stratosphere, you will be able to solve this question. And that is something you will deal with in the basic portion or regarding the structure and composition of atmosphere itself. Another kind of question that you will come across, why are dewdrops not formed on a cloudy night? Now, while this is a phenomena that you might experience in your everyday life, but when you come across the concept of climatology, you understand the real reason behind it. That is, the clouds are able to trap heat. So that is how you have to develop or build the concepts. The main questions which appear, and they do appear every year, questions from climatology appear both in prelims and in mains. In mains, you will find simple and direct questions, such as what are urban heat islands? Or for example, discuss the concept of air mass and explain its role in macroclimatic changes. Now, on the outset, right now, when you are not aware of the subject, this might appear to be very difficult. But that is where the key lies. Approach the subject one concept at a time. When you come across air mass, don't immediately start searching for what is an air mass. First, understand the property of air temperature. Once you are comfortable with it, then go to the next level. Why is it that wind flows? What are the pressure areas? And if you progress and proceed in a chronological fashion, your concept will be rock solid. Then, when we come to the unit of oceanography, here we deal with the oceans of the world. What are their features? What are the features of the landform underneath the water body of these oceans? If the land is shallow suddenly, or if there are submarine canyons, why are they formed? Then what are seamounts? What are goyards? How is it that temperature varies across the oceanic water? What are the features of waves? What are the features of tides? Why is it that as you move deeper into the oceanic water, the salt level changes? Then if there is a movement associated with the oceanic water, what are the factors or what are the basic fundamentals of ocean currents? On what factors are ocean currents dependent upon? You also study about the existence of coral reefs. While coral reefs, coral bleaching, etc. is oftentimes classified under environment and ecology. But unless and until you understand the ideal conditions for formation of coral reefs, how will you be able to conclude that why is it that in certain areas coral reefs are endangered? So that is what you have to study under oceanography, a detailed study regarding the oceanic waters across the globe. Here, when you take a look at the questions which appear in prelims, and again, from oceanography, you generally get easier questions. Look at the type of question which is asked. Consider the following factors. Which of the above factors influence the ocean currents? Now, if you are aware about ocean currents and how is it that ocean currents are formed, then this will be the easiest question that you come across. So, if you take a look at, let's say, the main type of questions, assess the impact of global warming on the coral life system with examples. So, when you study oceanography, we also deal with the part regarding that how changing climate and increased global warming is leading to changes in oceans as well. You will deal with thermohaline circulation, Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, which is a factor or a feature which has been in prominence in current affairs. So all those areas we shall cover here. So your knowledge regarding the static portion and the portion regarding the dynamic aspect of the subject, they will go together. And it is up to you as a candidate to put them on the same page. If you are able to do so, that is what will differentiate you from a normal candidate and the person who finds his or her name in the merit list. Then coming over to Indian geography. In Indian geography, we come across the physiography of India. Why is it that plateaus are present in a certain region? What are mountains? What are plains? What are the coastal areas? Now in this, I would be taking a different approach. While most of the books, they deal with just the mere classification of mountains, plains, plateaus, islands, etc. Here, we shall be taking an approach where we shall be trying to understand if there are plateaus in a region, how were they formed? If there is an Andaman and Nicobar Island, how was it formed? If there are northern plains, what is the concept behind the formation of northern plains? Why is it that we have alluvial soil in a region, and why is it that we have igneous rocks in the plateau region? What is the concept of a coral island, which we find in Lakshadweep? So that is where we will go to the very basics of it. We'll assume that we know nothing from before, and then we'll approach Indian geography. And our knowledge regarding geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography, everything will be utilized, and then will be put to paper, and then we'll be able to understand India in a better way. Climatology, or climate of India. Monsoon, the most complicated weather phenomena across the globe. What are the recent models in monsoon prediction? What are the factors which influence sudden increase or a decrease in rain when it comes to monsoon? What are pre-monsoon showers? What is retreating monsoon? What is northeast monsoon? All that we shall deal with here. Then in drainage, we shall be dealing with the rivers, the patterns that these rivers follow, the basic different types of landforms that they create, the different tributaries that these river systems have, the basic difference between peninsular rivers and Himalayan rivers. And we shall also be taking a look at certain factors such as interlinking of rivers, which is again very important for the examination perspective. We shall be taking a look at factors such as why is it that areas such as Bihar and Assam, year after year, they get flooded? What is the concept of shifting of rivers? So again, we shall try to interlink current affairs, the current developments with the basic concept. Then we shall be dealing with the soil types that we have, the forest types that we have, what are their individual properties. So in Indian geography, other than the human and economic aspect, which will come upon at a subsequent period as well, in Indian geography, we generally come across issues concerning India and the basic concept thereby. So the questions that you will come across will again be very basic. Suppose when you travel in Himalayas, you will see which of the following. Which of the above can be said to be the evidences for Himalayas being a young full mountains? So your conceptual clarity, both with Indian physiography and geomorphology, shall be tested in this. And that is what you have to gain a mastery over. Then there are certain other types of questions that you will come across. For example, a particular state in India has the following characteristics. Characteristics regarding forest cover, characteristics regarding the location, it is in the same latitude, characteristics regarding the protected area network. So again, an interrelation or correlation of various different topics, and that is what will help you. In the mains, you will come across questions such as examine the status of forest resources in India and its resultant impact on climate change, something which was asked in the 2020 mains exam. Again, we will be dealing with these when we come across the forest cover, natural vegetation, their distribution across the country. Okay? Here we have another subclassification, and that is human and economic geography. It is oftentimes put under the aspect or the ambit of Indian geography itself, but while we will be covering these, we shall always from time to time also slightly take a glimpse of the world. So we will study about agriculture. Recent trends indicate the importance of agriculture both in prelims, mains, also in the interview process. So we have to understand the requirement of various crops. What are the modern methods of agriculture, irrigation? What are the modern methods of organic farming? What is the concept of zero budget natural farming? What is the concept of mulching? What are the drawbacks of green revolution, the benefits of green revolution? All those aspects we shall deal with here. Location of industries, minerals, where they are found. And here we shall form a linkage with the physiography of India. That if there's a plateau region, we will look at and try to understand the formation. And then we shall try to form a linkage that, okay, that is why the regions of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Karnataka, and also parts of Rajasthan are so rich in minerals. It has got to do with their basic formation. I'll tell you where the problem comes. A candidate faces problems when he or she straight away starts learning the mineral distribution without understanding why a plateau exists. And that is where we convert this conceptual subject into a subject which has to do everything with learning. And when we do that, we make it more difficult for ourselves. Then population and settlement, the problems regarding population that we face, all of that. Resources, urban settlement, the problems regarding urban settlements and rural settlements, the pattern of settlement. Now, all these different concepts, you might be aware of them as a candidate, but then understanding them from a subject perspective is what you need to do under human and economic geography. Now, this is where the beauty of the subject comes in. In order to understand the problems of urban and rural settlements, you don't necessarily have to study it from a book or from a notes. Just look at the area around you. You will find n number of issues. And you will also find the reason why those issues exist. If there is an issue of hygiene, of sanitation in urban settlement, why is that? Because of slums. Right? Why are there slums created? Because people flock to urban areas in search of jobs, in search of opportunities, etc. And they don't get meaningful employment. So they have to live in cheaper places. So that is when, if you continue to interrelate one concept with the other, you will not need to refer many books for the exam. You just need to have an observant eye. We will also be taking a look at transportation. What is inland water transport? What are the benefits of freight corridors? What are highway networks? What are expressways? All of that we shall be covering under transportation. Now, here the questions that appear are, again, they deal with the minerals, basic ones. So, for example, in India, steel production industry requires the import of. So, here you have to relate economy with the geographical aspect. If you are aware of the fact that India imports coal from the region of Indonesia, Australia, and even South America, and that is coking coal, you will be able to solve this question very easily. Then, here again, the lower Gangetic Plain is characterized by humid climate with high temperature throughout the year. Which among the following pairs of crops is most suitable for the region? Again, agriculture, a knowledge regarding the requirements of different crops. What are the different crops which grow in a particular area? What are the ideal climatic conditions required for them? All of that you will study under human and economic geography. The question in the mains examination will be something like, how is efficient and affordable urban mass transport such as metro rail or rapid rail transport key to the rapid economic development of India? Now, while we'll be dealing with this particular topic and these kinds of questions when we cover the concepts, but in order to understand, or let's suppose any of your friends ask you this question, this is something that you can say from common sense as well. That if we have an efficient and affordable, quick, rapid urban mass transport, then that means people can live in various places and also they can commute to work. So an excess population concentration in a certain area will not take place. People can live far off from their places of work. And also, it can lead to development of many small growth centers. You can provide the example of Delhi NCR. So when it comes to human and economic geography, your example ideally should be from your experiences around yourself. Okay? And that is what is going to make your answer more diverse and different from your competitors. Then the next query that many of you will have is regarding the sources to refer. Which are the books or which are the materials that you have to refer to? So you will hear from your peers, from your seniors, from different faculties, from different sources that you have to cover as many n number of books as you can. But here, I'm here to advocate something completely different. Keep one mantra in mind. Always ensure that you have to read one book 10 times rather than 10 books only once. Understand this. You have to ensure that you are able to read one book as many times as possible. You have to revise the same book as many times as possible. That is when the concepts get clear. You don't have to go to the market to get Savinder Singh, G.C. Leong, etc. G.C. Leong, first of all, many of you would have that. If you are comfortable reading with it, fair enough. But if not, don't worry. Please understand, G.C. Leong as a book has not been written from the perspective of UPSC. UPSC sticks with NCRTs, be it the question in the prelims or the mains exam. These questions are mostly derived from NCRTs. The last time that a concept was used totally from G.C. Leong was more than 10 years back. So don't burden yourself unnecessarily with these books such as Savinder Singh or G.C. Leong for general studies purposes. For general studies, keep it very basic. So go through the NCRTs from 6th to 12th standard. If you are able to grasp everything that the NCRT has to convey to you, then go for 11th and 12th standard NCRT directly. But in case you are finding certain concepts or certain wordings difficult there, always it is advisable to start from the 6th standard NCRT. Other than that, you will be given with the Byju's book for geography as well. That also deals with many different concepts in detail and also includes perspectives regarding current affairs. So use that as a supplementary tool. And along with the tablet lectures, use these books as a method of reconfirmation as well as revision. If you are able to do that, then your conceptual coverage as well as the aerial coverage of the syllabus will be unparalleled. Now, there is another book that you will be given, and that is the Atlas. This Atlas has to become a part of your daily or at least the weekly routine. Atlas is not something that you open directly before the prelims examination to study the Atlas. Every year, questions are asked regarding map pointing in the prelims exam. If you take a look at the pattern of these questions mostly deal with areas in news or focus under current affairs. So how do you study the Atlas? Or how do you approach it in a very brief manner? So when you open up the Atlas, start with any particular continent or any particular area, let us say North America. Once you are looking at North America, first of all, start with the neighboring water bodies. Look at the various different names. Then there's a physical map which describes you about the land features. So look at the different plateaus, the names of the various mountains which exist, and get an overall idea that, okay, Rockies are present in the western part of North America, Appalachians are present in the eastern part of North America. Get that basic idea. Revise it again the next day. And then look at the political map. Okay, these are the countries which are situated in North America. Like this, you have to do multiple revisions. And you have to cover small areas at a time. So getting a mastery over Atlas is not a one-time process. It is not something that you will get a notes of before the prelims examination and you can master it. No. You have to do it as a continuous process. Every day or every week. Give half an hour or 1 hour. Observe the Atlas. When you come across any news article or any current affair, for example, there was lots and lots of debate regarding the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict which took place. And the area in contention was Nagorno-Karabakh. So immediately when you come across these new terms, go to the Atlas, open up the Atlas, look at where Armenia is, look at where Azerbaijan is, look at the factors that why certain countries are ideally situated or located to be helping Azerbaijan, and why the geopolitical and the geostrategic angle makes certain countries to help Armenia. There is the Afghanistan crisis which is brewing up. Look at the map. What is China's interest when it comes to Afghanistan? What is Pakistan's interest? What is Iran's interest? And then you will understand the larger picture. So Atlas has got to be your best friend. And it is going to be the most important textual material that you will have with yourself to help master geography, ecology, and also international relations and geopolitics. Other than that, you always have to ensure that you are well versed with current affairs. So newspaper reading has to be a part of your preparation cycle as well. But there are other sources as well, which you will be provided with. So for example, geography through maps, dealing with the world map and India map in detail. You will also find NCERT's detailed coverage, each of these NCERTs, what they are about. So whenever you face any doubt in NCERT, you can refer to that. Then we will also have a detailed prelims paper discussion going back 10 years. We will have a detailed analysis of the previous year questions which have appeared in the mains examination as well. Now what this will help you is, it will help you channelize your effort for each of the modules that you cover. It will help you understand what are the important areas to cover in each of the different modules. Now, how it will help you is, basically, it will help you channelize your effort when you are dealing with any particular unit. For example, if you come across the analysis of mains previous year paper and you find many questions regarding climatology, so after you have finished climatology, take a look at those questions. Are you able to deal with those questions? If not, why not? If yes, how ably so? So that is where the question paper discussion will form as a constant guiding light for your preparation. Every unit after you finish it, go through the questions, the types of questions that are present. Okay? Now, the next main topic is how to approach the subject, how to study the subject. This is where many of us face a problem. Now, we don't know how to remember the terms, how to remember the various physical features, phenomena, etc., which goes on when it comes to geography. Now, it is here that you have to understand that this subject is visual. The better you are able to visualize an effect on Earth, its environment, better will be the conceptual clarity. For example, You will come across the factor or phenomena of weathering when you will study this subject. But then unless and until you are able to look at an image and you are able to appreciate the rocks breaking in their own place, how will you be able to imagine that the rocks break up into many small pieces right where they are? For example, when you deal with the concept of a tropical cyclone, you deal with large formations of clouds. If you are not able to visualize how those clouds will appear, how will you be able to remember that? Always understand one factor. The recollective memory of your brain always works at its finest when it is able to visualize something. So any geographical concept that you deal with, be it geomorphology, climatology, or oceanography, you have to understand that if you are able to recall the image that you saw, most often than not, you will be able to explain the features or the concept behind it as well. So I want you to approach this subject with the method of visualization. This will help you imagine. So always look at the visual, then look at the basic concept. Once you are aware of the basic concept, and deal with one concept at a time. Once you are aware of why earthquakes happen, understand it. That, okay, this is where the land is moving. And if the land is moving in such a way, energy can be released. So you have a visual point of reference, you have a conceptual point of reference. After that, always try to write the concept in your own words. Always make it a point that you are writing the concepts that you have studied in your own words. If you do so, then not only will you further reinforce your conceptual clarity, you will also ensure that you are good at answer writing. So don't go for theoretical mugging up. Always go for imagining. And why that is important is because when you write answers for geography, your answers have got to have one basic factor, and that is diagrams, rough diagrams. Be it, let's suppose, mountain. So draw the rough formation of a fold mountain. Be it land colliding with each other. Draw the rough representation. So when you write the answers for geography, your answer needs to be authenticated. And this is the term, authentication. Your answers need to be authenticated with diagrams. Because then the evaluator will always get an impression that you as a candidate, you have a clue regarding what you are talking about. And it will not be more strenuous for the examiner or the evaluator as well. So that is where you can add certain spice to your answer. And the answer that you write, that answer always needs to have examples. As many examples as possible. And when you are writing examples, always try to understand that the questions that appear in the mains examination mostly have to deal with India and its issues. So how you view your country and the issues that the country is facing, that will determine how unique your answer is. So when you are faced with certain problems such as urban flooding or such as urban slums, etc., wherever you are in the area around you, you will have observed this. Your observation has to be brought forward in the form of examples as well as in the form of solutions to the problem that the question is posing in front of you. So even when you approach the subject for studies, you have to ensure that your observation of the area around you is always brought to the fore. So suppose if you travel to a coastal area, observe how the land starts dipping in the coastal region. That in itself will reinforce your concept of oceanography. If in your region, whichever area you are living at, during night time in the winter season, you observe the formation of fog. Understand that and reinforce the concept what you have studied in the subject. So your observational skills, if the wind is blowing, why is it that suddenly the wind is cold? Or why is it that the wind is warmer? What will be the influence of it? And what can be the basic causes behind it? That deepens your understanding, that furthers your understanding. Okay? So your observational skills, along with your ability to cite as many examples as you can, and bringing rough diagrams to the paper is what will enrich your answer and will help you approach the subject in the easiest way. So you have to arouse the inner curiosity within you. Now, here, how do we draw the diagrams? So many of the candidates, they start using different colored pens, glitters, pencils, etc. Keep one thing in mind. For every answer in the mains examination, roughly, you will have around 8 to 9 minutes in your hand. And within those 8 to 9 minutes, you have to write the answer, draw the diagram. So it can be rough. It can be very rough representation of a diagram, but it has to make some sense. Okay? If you have to draw the peninsular part of India, this simple representation will also do. But ensure that you are demarcating what you want to show. So for example, if you want to show the movement of cyclones, do that. And start writing. Okay? So that is how you write answers in geography. Then another issue which comes up is the correlation with current affairs. How do you correlate geography with current affairs? So basically, under current affairs, from time to time you will come across news articles dealing with the basic physical geography. And because the nature of the subject is such, oftentimes these articles, they deal with the path-breaking discovery which is happening in the field of physical geography. Look at that. And questions are asked from this. For example, on your screen you see an article regarding ocean mean temperature can better predict Indian summer monsoon. Now, ocean mean temperature can help us predict Indian monsoon. Indian monsoon is our biggest cause of concern because if the monsoons fail, rural economy fails. Rural economy, when it fails, food supply, urban economy, and overall the economic growth or the GDP growth, everything comes tumbling down. So monsoons are very important. So this article again becomes very important. If you look at the details provided in the same article, you will find that sea surface temperature is restricted to the few millimeters. You will find it is measured oftentimes up to a depth of 26 degree isotherm and also during the months mentioned. Now, while this might be a completely new research, you might not have come across this in any of the topics or in any of the books, but you have to keep an observational eye on it. And if you look at it, then you will find that questions have been asked from this. In 2020 prelims examination, there was a question regarding ocean mean temperature up to the depth during the months and how can it be helpful. That is how you have to approach the subject. Understand the basic, observe the area around you, and keep adding to the knowledge that you have in current affairs. And overall, you will find the subject is much more rewarding than the initial apprehensions that you have. Because once your brain becomes curious, automatically you will start searching for answers. What is the requirement that UPSC gives? UPSC requires an average aware graduate. That is, in order to become an IAS officer, IPS officer, foreign service officer, anything, you just need to be an average aware graduate. Awareness is the part that you have to focus on. Are you aware of the surrounding around you? If the region that you're living in is infertile, why is so? That curiosity has to kick in. So throughout this course, that will be the main motive, and that will be my prime effort to help you develop this sort of critical thinking. Because the materials will be available with you. If we are able to develop that critical thinking, then regardless of the types of questions, you will be able to deal with it very easily. Okay? Now, coming to how to revise the subject. I have read the particular topic. Let's say I have started reading climatology. I have read climatology. How to revise? So, after you see the tablet videos, suppose I have seen the tablet video. While watching the tablet videos, I'll make very brief notes regarding the video. Brief notes. That is, I don't want each and everything to be written, but only enough that when I read those notes again, everything that I've read in climatology will come back to me. So make short and concise notes. Please understand. These notes are for your own self-consumption. This note is not to be circulated in the market or so that you can show it off to your friends, etc. No. The purpose of the notes is just to help you recall it after around 10 months or even after 1 month or 2 months. Now, you have made a note. After that, I will take a look at the basic materials provided to me. I will go through the atlas, I will go through the Byju's book, and I will try to cover the relevant chapter from the NCERTs as well. Once I have done that, I will come across certain issues, certain conceptual points. So then, after that stage, after going through the materials as well, you will have certain doubts which will deal with the basic concept. You will have that. There is no denying this fact. Once you have these basic doubts, if possible, go to that particular section of the video again, watch it again, and try to understand it. And then try to understand why is it that you were having the doubt. Accordingly, recalibrate your note. Accordingly, read the material again. In case your doubt is still not resolved, write to us, send us a mail, or contact us via the mentorship, or contact your mentors. Get those basic concepts cleared. Unless and until your basic concepts are cleared, don't rest. Be very persuasive that you want these concepts to be cleared, and these will be cleared if you are revising the video again and looking at those basic concepts. And whenever you come across a new video or about a new location in geography, in physical geography, or even in Indian geography, open up your atlas and keep revising the atlas as many times as possible. If you want It is always advised keep a blank map in front of you, and after looking at the atlas, point it on your own. Play that small game that, okay, in North America, I have seen 20 features. In one go, how many of them I can recall? Challenge your memory. You will find that in a very interesting, but in a non-strenuous way, you are able to cover significant portion of the world map and India map as well. So that is what you need to understand, and that is the approach you need to take. And please understand, this is a journey for civil services, which you get only once in your life. So enjoy the process. For geography, I would only suggest that it is the subject which is present around you. You don't have to study the constitution or the economic exchange, etc. Just observe the rocks outside your house. This subject offers you a brief insight into the history of Earth and into the future of what Earth is going to be like. Enjoy the process, and the subject will be rewarding nonetheless. With that, I hope you have understood the basics and the approach. Continue your preparation. All the best for it. Thank you.